Hello, everybody. Dave Neal here, stand-up comic and host of Bachelor Nation News, and we are still recovering from last night's Fantasy Suite episode. Oh boy, are we a triggered bunch. Seriously. We've got Team Susie, we've got Team Clayton. There's no one that's Team Producers, I'll tell you that much. We are just audience members watching a gladiator match, and there will be blood, and there was. And it looks like the producers may have sabotaged both Susie and Clayton's shot at love. Because if the producers wanted to interject at all, they could have easily communicated the boundaries that neither Susie nor Clayton shared with each other beforehand. And of course, as we know, we watched last night, Clayton had pumped his palmer with several of the other finalists, if you will. And then Susie goes, just so you know, I love you and everything. But if you hooked up with them, it's going to be a no for me. And he's like, you could have told me that 3 days ago. What are you doing? You know? So anyway, let's get into it. I'm going to play a few different clips that sort of prove the point. One of our favorite people over here, as you guys might know, is Charlene and Dear Shandy, the podcast that they have there. They do a great job of breaking down the podcast. I want to break down 3 clips that they played. Maybe 4, and then we'll share a clip from Bachelor Clues and why he blames the producers for this mess last night. So let's just jump around on a couple of these clips. By all means, go check out Charlene's YouTube channel and watch their full recap. She does a fantastic job. Might be the best recap out there.
And then she kind of drifts off. And there's an amazing slow zoom in on Clayton here as he processes this information. He licks his lips. He's taking it all in, and from a comedic standpoint, it's pretty amazing.
Oh, yeah. If this was comedy, it would be very funny.
And
this part, yeah. It's not funny later, but
funny.
Here, you know what it was? It was realization dawning.
You know what it is? It's for a callback.
Yeah.
It's like on Jeopardy when someone wagers all their money on the final Jeopardy question and gets it wrong. And the guy tells them it's wrong. It's the look on their face.
Oh, wait. So you think, oh my God. Okay. So this is a callback to Thursday's Wedding Story Part 2 episode.
Nice.
But yeah, it's
that same
all
expression.
Those swear words compressed into one expression.
Yes.
Clayton seems pretty flustered by this. He says, I guess she was going to learn about it at that rose ceremony that we've seen previewed many times. And then she was going to leave. You were so right.
Thank you.
Wow. Are you proud of yourself?
I am actually. I am proud of myself.
Are you almost a little surprised at how right you were?
Yeah, sometimes, I go out there, I take risks with my opinions. And I know that oftentimes I'll have egg on my face.
Mm-hmm.
We like this guy.
So yeah, I was a little worried, but now I'm not.
Well, good job.
Thank you.
Good job. I'm not sure it really applies to Susie's argument. It's like, had I known you felt it so strongly, I would have then therefore told you that I'm not comfortable with you sleeping with other people.
They're going to break down the semantics of it all, which I love. It's very important to understand what words people are using, and we can't just, I feel like he was trying to say this. No. Let's hear what they actually said.
Right.
I'm not trying to pick this apart from a semantic standpoint, but we are going into fantasy suites, and we all know what what those are about. I mean, it's part of our culture at this point. Late night shows are going to make jokes about fantasy suites. Fantasy suites is almost part of our lexicon. So all I'm saying is that whether or not he felt strongly enough, contextually, there is a sort of expectation for what this week holds. So Susie says she didn't want to give him an ultimatum because she didn't want him to cut himself short in this process.
But she
says it's heartbreaking and he's so wonderful, and he's reassured her that there are good men out there, but this is something very big to her and she doesn't think she can get past it. Clayton says he did what he did, but had he known it was a deal breaker for her, he would have changed the way he'd approached things because he knows what they have. He says sorry for having done it, and he asks for her forgiveness because he doesn't want to lose what they have. He says he does love her and he doesn't expect her to say it back, but he would hope that what they have is worth fighting for. Okay, so this is the first time Clayton says that had he known, and this is an interesting point to sort of dissect because this is where you're kind of like, they're both kind of right.
They're both right.
They're both right. I think Susie is 100% in her right
100%
to be like...
Yeah, so everyone agrees Susie's she's in her right to create her boundaries. Everyone agrees that. People just wish that she had said something sooner.
Addison, after the rose ceremony, she had already gotten her rose. She asked to speak with him and she sat him down and she was like, I know what next week means. I know what fantasy suites are.
Yeah.
And I want you to know that I am not comfortable moving forward in our relationship
So she's explaining what Maddie did on Peter's season.
if you have sex with somebody else.
Totally reasonable.
Before. And he still did it. And she still gave him another chance.
Oh, wow.
So it's something to consider here.
So I guess I'm on Maddie's side. That she at least gave proper boundaries. All right, one more clip from Charlene in a second. Mike Fleiss, creator of the show, says, please show respect for all. Well, Mike Fleiss, did you really respect Clayton and Susie when you butchered this conversation of theirs and got them to the point where she was the third in the fantasy suite because he loved her the most, and you didn't want Clayton to know that she wasn't going to like him if he hooked up with the others? I mean, come on, right? All right, here we go.
Have imagined a scenario in which he was physically intimate with anyone else. He responds with, no one told me I had to go sleep with someone, okay? Does that sound like that's in response to what she just said?
No.
He says he was feeling.
No, pardon me. What we have here is
Which is that she
they're
couldn't.
doing a good job of explaining how their scene was edited last night, because of course it's a long argument. They edited it down to several minutes. Imagine being in a 2-hour fight with your person and they edit it down to several minutes. They can do some wonders to you. So there was a lot that we didn't hear that they're responding to. Listen to them break it down.
Have imagined a scenario in which he was physically intimate with anyone else. He responds with, no one told me I had to go sleep with someone, okay? Does that sound like that's in response to what she just said?
No.
He says he was feeling feelings of love and explored to see if the physical connection was there. I wrote, does this not feel like it wasn't in response to what she'd said? It feels like there was a discussion about producers and production in my mind.
I agree.
I think that from here on out, there's actually a lot of stuff left out. And the two main things I think are left out are discussion about producers, maybe puppeteering him, and him feeling that Susie is strategizing for Bachelorette. And that, in my mind, fuels a lot of his rage towards her.
Yes, I agree.
Because it's not just, oh, I failed you and you're going to leave me so easily over that, but rather I feel duped. Yes. Okay. So Clayton admits now that he slept with both, who told him to let it loose.
He was encouraged to have his cake and eat it too.
100% encouraged to have his cake and eat it.
And anyone who's encouraged to have their cake and eat it too has their cake and eats it too.
All right, they're fantastic.
So now outside, Clayton chats with Jesse. He seems the most upset that Susie wouldn't have communicated this to him if it was so important to her. I don't think he's wrong in this. Clayton to Jesse says, hopefully Susie comes back and says she thought about it and is open to talking about it. So he still wants to make this work.
Yeah.
Jesse says, I'm sorry, man. I know you were in love with her. I thought this was an interesting tense usage.
Yeah, we're in love with her.
Because Clayton, how it was edited is that Clayton just said, I hope it still works out. Meanwhile, Jesse's like, I know you're in love with her. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's just interesting. I kind of got me thinking Jesse knows something that Clayton doesn't.
I know you're in love with her, but she's contractually going to be the Bachelor.
All right, very good stuff. Very, very good stuff. Really interesting. I'm going to play Blues Clues, Bachelor Clues, and what he has to say about the producers here.
Just finished watching Fantasy Suites, and we're not going to have an episode of Game of Roses until Friday to cover it, so I'm going to come on here real quick and just give a very simple but important thought. So there are spoilers in this. If you haven't watched Fantasy Suites yet, don't watch this reel. But no matter what side of the argument of Clayton Echard versus Susie Evans you might wind up on, it's very important to remember that none of this happens without the producers. They orchestrated this entire event. They knew how Susie Evans felt about this. They knew how Clayton Echard felt about her, and they arranged the fantasy suites to happen in that order specifically to destroy this relationship and have a mental breakdown for Clayton Echard, potentially for Susie Evans or anybody else that they could drag into this. But again, they orchestrated this purposely by putting the fantasy suites in the order they did to achieve this exact outcome.
I love it. Bachelor Clues, they're always on it, and he's not wrong. Look, they're Bachelor Clues, right? They're Game of Roses. They're writers. They understand script. They understand storyline. Now, when you're creating a storyline, you're obviously going to lead to a climax. No pun intended here. Wrong one. No pun intended here. But, you're dealing with people's emotions, and the producers, in accordance with Susie, could have potentially kept Clayton from knowing her deal breakers. And Susie potentially might not want to be Clayton's final one. And in which case knows she's got Bachelorette on the table and she's got to let him go. Now, again, this is a lot of sort of filling in the blanks, but that's what happens when they edit a show. They give us space to fill in the blanks. Let me know what you guys think, and we'll have more content coming your way. We'll see you guys in a little bit. If you want to check us out on the Patreon, go to patreon.com/Dave Neal, where we have live, private, membership-only content. And don't forget to join us on Instagram @DNeals. We'll talk to you in a little bit. Bye, guys.